Hi everybody, my name is Dennis and welcome back to another album review. Today we're reviewing the debut album from A$AP Rock and producer Tobacco under the name Malibu Ken. This is one of the strangest hip-hop records I've heard in a while, but it's still surprisingly accessible, and its weirdness is what makes it great in a lot of ways. Tobacco's production has this really unique feel to it it's really hard to describe. Has these it's just such a strange instrumental sense, and it has these fun like piano synthesizer like electronic beats to it that is just so unlike anything I think I've ever heard before, and it's such an interesting sound. And A$AP's flows across the entire thing are really good, as to be expected from him. And the lyrics are generally on point as well, a lot of it being about his own mental state and how he knows that he lives an unhealthy life, but he also sees that this unhealthy life fuels his art that he makes, and he struggles to balance improving himself versus improving his art. And that's brought out on a couple of songs here that I think is a really interesting theme. On top of other things that, even though it may not always seem to form like a cohesive storyline or follow one solid theme throughout the album, there are some really well-written songs here, like Churro, for example. Even though on the surface it seems like it just talks about the Eagle crisis, and if you remember a few years ago, there was that whole big thing of watching the eagle's nest. There was this video place there you can see the eagles living their lives. And then, unfortunately, one day, an eagle brought a kitten in, and they ate the kitten. And I really like the line in the song where he talks about how maybe there was this guy who lost his cat, and then he goes to watch the eagles to maybe bring him some comfort, and he sees the eagles eating his cat. And it's it's really dark humor, but I think it's done really well, and I think it also holds a bit of a deeper meaning in the sense of oftentimes when we lose something, we immediately replace it for something that will fill that void, but really what we're filling that void with is hurting that initial thing to start with, whether it be overindulgence in something that just numbs our mind, something that we can do mindlessly, and not necessarily even like drugs or alcohol, but just like entertainment, watching too much television, watching too many shows, even listening to too much music, just something that is supposed to numb you from this thing you're struggling with when it's really worsening this thing you're struggling with at first. There's also, on top of that, it has a really nice sound to it. It's one of the better produced songs on this album, and unfortunately, the production doesn't differentiate from one standard sound very much, and that can get a bit distracting and become a bit uninteresting at times. And it makes some songs that have less interesting elements to them, such as like Tuesday or Swordbox or Purple Moss, just not stand out as much. There are some really interesting ways that this same style is done. Like, take the song 1 + 1 = 13, or the song Save Our Ship. They have these really interesting sounds. Like, Save Our Ship has this nice, light, ambient, not necessarily ambient, but this really light, melodic beat to it through the hook. And it's really interesting, and it's unique even for this album. And it does it really well, too. And I think other songs like Suicide Big Gulp or Acid King both have really great beats to them. Acid King having just such, you can just move with it so easily. It's such a fun beat to listen to. And this album is really just such a fun thing overall. With songs like Corn Maze and Acid King just having really fun beats. You have something like Churro that's really well written. You have something like Save Our Ship or 1 + 1 = 13 that takes this formula that they're already using and makes something new and interesting out of it. And like I said before, even though the lyrics may not always be spot on, especially with something like take Dog Years, where he talks about a lot of the things with poverty. He's like, I'll show you this magic trick, like I'll take your wallet out of your pocket, put it into mine, and I might just show it to you twice kind of thing. And even though like I get the sense that it's going with like poverty and the struggles and like one's own conscience not being able to filter these kinds of actions out, I don't think it necessarily is all that intriguing, and the production isn't as fulfilling as something many of the other cuts on here. I think Tuesday, I don't really care for the high-pitched noises that go through the hook. I think that definitely detracts a lot from the song. But even these things I'm bringing out are honestly nothing more than mild inconveniences. All the songs in here are generally enjoyable at the very least. I mean, there are some great songs on here, like something like I said, Acid King, Churro, 1 + 1 = 13. Great songs on here. And even though every song isn't necessarily great, this is a really, really enjoyable album that I think is a very nice transition into experimental music, because even though it's such a unique feel, it's very accessible, it's very easy on the ears, it's easy to get into, while still presenting something that's new, interesting, and very unique. So with all that being said, I'm feeling a light 8 on this album. Definitely be sure to check it out. It's very enjoyable, very fun listen. Be sure to tell me how wrong my opinion is as always, and I will see you in the next review.